Good morning and welcome to Onward in Love and Caregiving. I'm Greg Johnson. I'm the president and CEO of GJP International, which is Greg Johnson Partnerships International. And here in New York, I have the great privilege of serving as the chief advisor for family caregiving to the CEO of Emblem Health. Now, I want to welcome you. Today is June 17th. And it is Pride Month, so I again want to say happy Pride. I want to thank you for the many wonderful notes and responses to the programs that we have been doing, which have been focusing on the LGBTQ world during this month. And today is no exception, except we're widening the circle, which is what it's all about. But we'll get to that a little bit later. And also this weekend is Juneteenth, which is the celebration of June 19th, celebrating June 19, I want to make sure I have, yes, 1865. And so Monday will be a holiday. So it's a weekend of a lot of celebration and people being together. And whenever that happens, I always urge each and every one of us, myself included, to remember caregivers. While we may be celebrating, how are they celebrating? Make a call. Perhaps send over some of that barbecue or some of that chicken or some of that wonderful food that you're enjoying. Or perhaps share with them some of the things you're doing for Pride Week, or for Pride Month, I should say. But in any case, it's a time to share. Now, as you know, this program, which is now in its third year, it was begun at my home in Bali, and the idea was an opportunity to share, an opportunity to support one another. I had been invited by the ASEAN Foundation, and that's the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN. I didn't say Asian wrong. ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Over 50 years ago, I had the privilege of being on the tourism committee when that organization was founded. And it's now 10 countries. And how do you know where they are? Well, here's China, here's Australia. It's everything in the middle. That's the simplest way of saying it. And I had the great privilege of being invited to go to many of the countries, having gone there many, many times in the world of tourism, but going there to talk about family caregiving. And then the following year, we began inviting people to come to Bali. And I loved it. I would usually spend 2 days with each country, one day talking about what we had done and what particularly they had done in the past year, and then talking about what were they planning. And because I was getting a pulse from many countries, I was able to connect. And there's nothing I love to do more than connect winners, just like I love connecting with you. And so we began talking. We began supporting one another. And the result was people wanted to be able to continue the conversation when I got back to New York. And fortunately, one of my staff in Bali is a very talented young man, very technological and young. And he said, Greg, you can do this. And I said, how? And he said, Facebook Live. It's on and off. Well, so far I've been able to do it. So I thank Eduardo for that, but we laugh about it now. Now with Gene having joined the team and becoming my husband, we are able to expand. And next week, we will be having a very special guest. It'll be one of our special programs, and we'll talk more about that a bit later. But as we begin, I want to just remind you of two things. One, the YouTube channel, where all of these programs and a lot of other things, many of the talks that I've done for Emblem Health and for other organizations are on that YouTube channel. And all you do is go to YouTube and then you put in the channel, and it is Family Caregiving with the Rev. and then find those that you really have a need for. I'm at present going through this series and being certain that the first thing you see is the topic as opposed to the name of the program. That's going to take me a while to get through it, but I'm very much enjoying doing it. And I think it'll make it more useful for you to go back, take a look, share it, listen to it again, and pass it on, because that's what all of this is about. We want to share in community, to support one another. And then if you'd like to be in touch with me directly, it's very simple. The email, and it's all small case, Greg Johnson at gjp-international.com. Once again, Greg Johnson at gjp-international.com. All small case. Write me a note. I would love to hear from you. Now, this morning, I have had many requests for this particular mindful meditation. So I've been trying to do it at least once a month. I do it quite frequently as I begin my own time of prayer, meditation, of thinking, of quiet. And it is the loving, compassionate, the mindful meditation of loving compassion. And it's a very simple and beautiful. And there are 4 parts to each, as we'll call them, stanza. The first is ourselves. We need to begin with ourselves. What is the rule in family caregiving? Before I can care for you, I've got to care for myself. Well, how do we do that when we do a meditation? I've got to get centered. I've got to go into that deeper inner spark of the divine. You've got it and I've got it. And we need to let that light shine. This little light of mine, I know you all know that one. We're going to let it shine, but we've got to give it focus. We've got to give it a moment. And so I'm going to invite you to just take a few deep breaths. It's one of the reasons we do breath. What is breath? Breath is spirit. How did life begin? It began with the breath of the divine. The spirit came into us and is with us every moment of our lives. And no matter what's going on, that's the one assurance each of us has. But we need to reach and ask for it. We've got to grab onto it when everything else seems to be shifting. So let's just take a deep breath. Feel that light, the presence of the divine within us. And as we're centering ourselves there, let's share these words. May I be safe. May I be happy and at ease. May I be healthy. May I be loved. And now, just as we beheld ourselves, I'm going to ask each of you to hold a care recipient, perhaps your care recipient, or perhaps someone whom you know who is ill, who is going through a very difficult time, a caregiver who is going through the stage of grief. Hold that person in loving kindness and allow the spirit in you to speak to the spirit of them. May you be safe. May you be happy and at ease. May you be healthy. May you be loved. And now, this one's a little more difficult. Is there someone you're having a bit of trouble with? Is there someone who's constantly coming into your mind? Is there someone you're trying to forgive? See them surrounded in that loving light. I know that's difficult. Let your ego step aside. Surround them in loving light. And let's offer these words. May you be safe. May you be happy and at ease. May you be healthy. May you be loved. And now, and never has it been more appropriate. Throughout the pandemic, we have been praying for the frontline workers, the first responders. During the pandemic, we have prayed for those who are ill. We have prayed for the caregivers. We have prayed for those who have died. We have prayed for those who grieve, and we continue that today. But we also include all of the world, with all of its difficulties, with the wars, the hunger, the strife. And yet we go within. As within, so without. We look at that whole world and we pray. May you be safe. May you be happy and at ease. May you be healthy. May you be loved. And it is so. And then perhaps in your own hearts, you can then go to that wonderful prayer of St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Or sing the song, let there be peace on earth. And let it begin with me. As my dear, dear, wonderful friend, the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu used to say, just do it right where you are. And that will have a ripple effect. And it will also bless and strengthen you. May it be so. Now this morning, I want to talk for just a moment. This past week, I've been blessed to have so many talks and so many things with pride, so many things with the two pandemics, as it were, the AIDS and COVID-19, living in both of them. Other programs celebrating the progress while still being vigilant for those who would want to push people back. And I'm not just talking about the LGBT world. We must go forward, onward. People who know me know that's my favorite word. Onward in love and caregiving. It's the name of this program. Doesn't surprise you, I know. But I want to talk this morning about support groups. This past week, that's where I began, I had the privilege. I had given a talk to a group of persons who work with the elderly, with seniors, out on Long Island. A wonderful, wonderful group of people I didn't know. And I got a phone call from someone who was at that event. A woman who works in a major law firm that's based in New York City, but also it began out on Long Island. In fact, its headquarters are out there. And this law firm provides a support group for persons, clients that they have, but the community as well, who are dealing with Alzheimer's patients and dementia. And I was so honored once again. I love support groups, but then anyone who has been in 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous for as many years as I have been, loves support groups. I bless each and every moment. And so when I had the privilege of being with these folks, and once again, hearing each of the stories, some into very advanced stages, some just beginning. But I watched the miracle, the dynamic of knowing I'm not alone. I'm scared, yes. But these people have done it, and if they can do it, I can do it. And amazingly, I watched miracles begin to happen. It didn't change the present situation. It's not going to do that. What changed? The inner being of the persons participating. because as they shared, they were having their issues. We all know people have said this forever. If you've got a problem and you share it, it's cut in half. Well, imagine sharing it with more and more people. It's broken down into manageable pieces. And people saying, yes, 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 we've done that sort of thing. I know right where you are. I've been there. Oh, that scares you to death. Did you try this? Did you try? And that's where support groups become incredible. And in the world of family caregiving, there is a piece to support groups that I love even more. And it was true with this wonderful group of people. They were sponsored by Russo Law, wonderful organization. And again, this is a corporation doing caregiving for their clients and for the community at large. Corporate caregiving, you know, I adore that topic. And they were out there working and supplying and meeting a need, meeting people right where they are and what was very difficult for them. So I thought to myself, that's what I'm going to be talking about, because I want to give you a few clues on how you find that sort of thing here in America. And this program is watched worldwide. But in doing that, it will allow you through Google and so forth to become part of it. Remember, that's been one of the wonderful things in the 12-step world. People all over the world are coming together to support one another. I've been going to a meeting in South Africa, and it was the quickest trip to South Africa that I've ever made. I just sit right here and push a button and I'm there. So it's a wonderful opportunity. Technology has been greatly enhanced. Now, in the LGBT world, there are three groups that immediately come to mind because they have specifically designed programs for the LGBT world. One is SAGE, S-A-G-E, and that's located here in New York, but throughout the entire United States. And they have all sorts of programs and visitation programs. Last week, you'll remember we talked about the horizontal and the vertical ways of caregiving. Well, the LGBT world still tends to be a very horizontal, and therefore intergenerational is very missing. Well, SAGE has stepped into that, and they have some wonderful support groups. So look in your local directory. Another that I love and adore, and it's all over the United States, NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness. This is incredible. Look it up. Each and every program is free, and there are programs designed just for the LGBT world, but there are also programs designed for people of certain languages, for women, for people of certain ages. They meet so many needs, and it is available and it's free. Thank the Lord. It's wonderful. And then GMHC, the Gay Men's Health Crisis, they have incredible programs as well. So I want, in as much as this is Pride Week, to begin by sharing these. I also want to share with you, how do you find support groups and how do you find help? Well, the first one here in America that I want to talk about, it's called, curiously enough, the Triple A's. And I will admit, when I first began my work in family caregiving, and everyone kept talking about the Triple A's. Now, I'd come from the world of tourism, and I thought, why on earth would anybody go to a travel agent to get help with seniors, the American Automobile Association? Well, that's not what this is. It's the Area Agencies on Aging. Area Agencies on Aging. Put that into your Google. Their main page will come up, and immediately they will invite you to put in your zip code. And from that, they will be able to tell you resources in that zip code in your area. They will be able to tell you support groups. They will be able to tell you an enormous, enormous amount of information. Again, that is the Area Agencies on Aging, and they have the fabulous elder care locator. And it's all done by zip code. So, number one. Number two, and I'm as prejudiced as they can be. I'm going to change these glasses. These keep slipping. I'm as prejudiced as can be when I talk of this. One of my dearest friends and my co-author actually on the book, Peace Be Still, Prayers and Affirmations for Family Caregivers, is the Reverend Marion A. Gambardella. And Marion does a non-disease specific support group. She does it the first Saturday of every month at the Marble Collegiate Church. Many of you know I had the great privilege of serving there for many years prior to my retirement. Marion continues to do that. She has moved physically to Florida, but she continues to do it online, and it is heralded as one of the great support groups. This is a woman of immense love, immense knowledge, and caregiver beyond all belief. Many of you will remember she has been our guest, was one of the first guests on our specials with Jean and with me. And I'm going to be putting that up so that you can refresh your mind on that. But if you'd like information, and this is very important, it is a caregiver support group that is non-disease specific. Now, many illnesses, many people who deal with illnesses will have support groups, but they often can become very disease oriented. And that's very important. We need to know information about the disease, all of these sorts of things. But we don't want to lose the caregiver in the conversation and make them the silent patients all over. So a non-disease specific says, yes, this is the disease I'm dealing with. This is the disease I am. This is, and that's fine. And there are ways of getting lots of information about them, the specifics of a disease. But you're here to look at your role as the caregiver, not to be focusing on the care recipient. So I urge you to consider Marion, and it's very simple. Just send her an email, and her email is simple. It's M-A, all small case, here we go again, M-A Gambardella, Gambardella at yahoo.com. Send her an email. Tell her you heard about it from this program, and you'd like to register to be notified when the next meeting is being held. Once again, it's Marion Gambardella, Reverend Marion Gambardella, but the email is M-A Gambardella, Gambardella, at yahoo.com. Now, in New York, there is an organization that I've had the privilege of doing a lot of work with, programs with, and I can't say enough. Once again, it's an organization that is totally free of charge, but it is for persons who are caring for people with Alzheimer's. And this organization is known as Caring Kind. Caringkind, Caring Kind. Google it. It is a stellar organization with programs both for the care recipient and for the caregivers. They have done a lot of work for those of you who are in the clergy, who are social workers. They have looked at the entire network. Once again, they drew the circle wider. They included everyone and honored the role that each person was playing, along with what are the specific needs of that person in dealing with this person's disease. And it's been an enormous success. Caring Kind, and you can find information, helpline, at caringkindnyc.org. And one last organization, and again, I'm quite prejudiced about it because I had the privilege of being with them from the very, very beginning. A wonderful gentleman who has now passed on kept attending lectures that I was giving. He'd always sit in the front row, very attentive, very kind, but I kept wondering why he kept returning. What was he missing? What was I not saying? What was he looking for? And finally, I went up to him and he said, "Oh, I've been wanting to ask you." He had been through a very difficult caregiving time with his wife. But in so doing, he had learned the role of the caregiver and he wanted to pass it on. And through a program with the Episcopal Church out on Long Island, Caring for the Caregiver was born. Caring for the Caregiver was born. And Karen and Bob, two wonderful people who have organized more health fairs on Long Island and have graciously invited me to speak at them for well over the last 10 years. And there are now groups all over Long Island. So if you'd like to have more information, she doesn't know I'm doing this, but send an email to Karen, Karen, at caringforthecaregiver.org. Now, these are just a few of many wonderful organizations, but I cannot say enough for the importance and the gift that we've all had with the pandemic, if I can use that term, has been the fact that technology has just exploded. And we have learned how to take a few minutes for ourselves. We can still be caring for that loved one. We can still hear the calls. In fact, that was happening on the Alzheimer's support group that I was there. You could hear people calling for help and that sort of thing. And it was wonderful because they were present for their loved one, but they were taking some moments for themselves, sharing their experience, strength, and hope. And what a powerful result. Sharing your experience, strength, and hope. For 87 years, AA has been doing that. And I, for one, give enormous thanks for that. Now, this morning, I'm going to end with a reading that touches me deeply. And I hope that it will bless you on this weekend. It's entitled, Let Go, Let God. I feel great relief when I know I've given my very best efforts, even if the situation I care about remains unresolved. In the stillness of prayer, I gain clarity about what is mine to do. Once I have done my part, I know it's time for me to step back, to turn the task over to other hands and other minds, and to let go and let God, as you understand that word. Of course, once I am invested, after I have given my attention, energy, and time, it's only natural to want to keep working, pushing for results I wish to see. I remember that letting go and letting God is a dynamic process, a giving to and not giving up. Let me repeat that. I remember that letting go and letting God is a dynamic process, a giving to, not giving up. I trust that when my worldly efforts are complete, I can release my concerns to the divine and await a perfect outcome in its true time. And the passage they use in this writing from the Daily Word is from Psalms. In God whose word I praise, in God I trust. I am not afraid. What can flesh do to me? And it is so. Thank you so much for being with me this morning. I wish you a wonderful, wonderful weekend, a time of celebration and blessings. And as always, onward in love and caregiving. Namaste. God bless and thank you. Thank you for being with me. please pass it on. I'll see you real soon.